Happy First Chapter Friday. This week I'm reading So Be It by Sarah Weeks. This is one of my favorite books from when I was a child, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Chapter 1, Heidi. If truth was a crown and it was up to me to put a wrapper around it and name its color, I know just what I would call it. Dinosaur skin. I used to think, without really thinking about it, that I knew what color that was. But that was a long time ago, before I knew what I know now about both dinosaur skin and the truth. The fact is, you can't tell squat about the color of an animal just from looking at its bones, so nobody knows for sure what color dinosaurs really were. For years, I looked at pictures of them, trusting that whoever was in charge of coloring them in was doing it based on scientific fact. But the truth is that they were only guessing. I realized that one afternoon, sitting in front of the seat of Sheriff Rory Funkin's squad car, the fall before I turned 13. Another thing I found out right around the same time was that not knowing something doesn't mean that you're stupid. All it means is there's still room left to wonder. For instance, about dinosaurs. Were they the same color as the sky in the morning I set off for liberty? Or were they maybe the same shade of brown as the dust on my shoes kicked up on the driveway at the Hilltop home? I'd be lying if I'd said that I'd given a choice. I wouldn't rather know than not know. But there are some things that you can just know for no good reason other than that you do. And then there are other things that no matter how badly you want to know them, you just can't. The truth is, whether you know something or not doesn't change what it was. If dinosaurs were blue, they were blue. If they were brown, they were brown, whether anybody ever knows it for a fact or not. Chapter 2, Debt. One thing I knew for a fact from the time I knew anything at all was that I didn't have a father. What I had was a mama and a Bernadette. And for as far as I was concerned, that was plenty. Bernadette started off being the next door neighbor, but that didn't last for very long. My mother loved me in her own special way, but she couldn't take care of me herself because of her bum brain. Bernie once explained it to me by comparing Mama to a broken machine. All the basic parts are there, Heidi, and from the outside she looks like she should work just fine. But on the inside, there are lots of mysterious little pieces busted or bent or missing altogether, and without them, her machine doesn't run quite right, and it never would. Bernadette understood about Mama. She knew just how to talk to her and how to teach her things. The trick with Mama was to do things over and over the exact same way every single time until she got it. That's how Bernadette taught Mama to use the electric can opener. Every day for weeks, she brought it over the cat food cans and opened them in front of Mama. "Watch me, precious," she'd say. "Lift up, put the can under, press down, listen to the hum, done." Pretty soon, Mama was saying the words along with her. Well, not all of them, but she'd nod her head and say done when the part came. After a while, Bernadette let Mama try it herself. At first, she couldn't remember what to do. She got the order all mixed up. But Bernie kept working with her and talking softly to her, and finally, one day, Mama opened a can all by herself. Done. I don't know who was happier about it, Bernadette or Mama. After that, Mama opened the cans all the time. Soup, cat food, and tuna fish. Any kind of can. In fact, we had to keep them hidden up high or over at Bernadette's because if Mama saw a can, she opened it, whether you happened to need what was inside it right now or not. Bernadette's apartment was right next to ours. In the olden days, when the buildings were first built, the rooms were probably all joined together as one big apartment. That's why there was a connecting door between us. That door meant that when Bernadette came over, she didn't actually have to leave her apartment, which was a lucky thing for Mama and me because of Bernadette's AP. When she first explained it to me, I thought she said she had agoraphobia. I looked it up, MBF, man's best friend, which is what we called the Big Webster's Dictionary. We kept it on the coffee table in the living room. It said a phobia was a fear and angoria was a long-haired animal, usually a goat or rabbit. I wasn't sure why, but when you put them together, according to Bernadette, it means that you're afraid to leave your house. Later on, I learned that what Bernie had actually said was agoraphobia, not angoraphobia. But it's still boiled down to the same thing. She didn't go outside. ever. She couldn't, because if she did, something terrible would happen. She never told me what exactly, but from the look of she got in her eye just thinking about it, I knew that it was bad. Bernadette loved to read. She always had her nose stuck in a book, and if not her nose, then she'd have a finger in there, holding her place while she did whatever else she needed doing quickly so that she could get back to her reading. Did you know that an ostrich's eyes is bigger than a brain, Heidi? She's always telling me interesting stuff that she found in some book. If she's reading about Africa, she wouldn't tell me something boring about irrigation ditches. She told me elephants are the only four-legged animals that can't jump. Every night, as far back as I can remember, Bernadette read out loud to me before I went to sleep. The two of us would tuck Mama in together, and then Bernie would come in and sit on my bed and read to me until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. She read me Charlotte's Web, The Little Prince, parts of the Bible, and Zen philosophy. She translated Romeo and Juliet into English, well, my kind of English, and we both cried at the end. She read me Greek myths, Nancy Drew mysteries, and the biography of Mahatma Gandhi, and the Little House books twice through. Bernadette couldn't go outside together, but every time we rode bareback across the prairie in calico bonnets or belly crept into dark caves or followed clues up steep, winding stairs into the tops of mysterious clock towers. Bernie taught me everything I knew, and she was a very good teacher. When she explained things, they shot into my brain like arrows and stuck. She could describe the Arctic blizzard or cross-pollination, and suddenly I'd be leaning into the bite of a freezing wind or riding a bumblebee's back right into the middle of a snapdragon. Nobody ran in Bernadette's world. They snickered or hightailed it. They didn't whine. They pulled and moaned. She knew a million words, and when she couldn't find one to fit, she'd make one up. Just like when Mama got frustrated and started scrunching up her face and working her jaw, Bernadette would say, "Your Mama's cooking up a royal rumple, Heidi." A royal rumple sounded like some kind of fancy pudding to me, but Mama cooked them up on a pretty regular basis. And believe me, hers didn't come with whipped cream and a cherry on top. Usually they happened when Bernadette was trying to teach her something new. Some things Mama could learn, like how to open cans, but there were some things that no matter how hard Bernadette tried, Mama couldn't get. Like how to tie her shoe. Right over left, snake in the tunnel, pull tight, make loops. Right over left, snake in the tunnel, pull tight, done. I must have heard Bernadette say that a million times. In fact, I could still hear her voice in my head saying those very words every time I tie my own shoes, because that's the way she taught me. But Mama couldn't get it. After a few tries, she started banging her head on the table, shouting, "Done, done, done," and she wouldn't stop until Bernadette finally bent down and tied her shoes for her. Bernadette was not what you'd call a quitter, but she understood that some things were just too hard for Mama. That's why when she ordered shoes for her from a catalog, she always got the slip-on kind. I loved my mother, and I know she loved me too, but if we didn't have Bernadette, we'd be in big trouble. Mama didn't know things. She didn't understand numbers at all. She couldn't tell time or use money or the telephone. She only knew one color, blue, and although she could recognize a few letters, A and S and sometimes H, she couldn't read, not even her own name. Bernadette taught me how to read and write when I was 5. She said I took it like a duck, which I remember thinking is a strange expression. I'd never heard of a duck that could read, but if Bernadette had told me there was such a duck, I would have believed her without hesitation. As far as I was concerned, she knew everything there was to know, but that was before I left Reno in search of a 4-letter word and discovered along the way that people know only what they know and nothing more than that. I hope you enjoyed So Be It, and you're going to continue reading it. If not, so sorry. Hopefully you'll like next week's First Chapter Friday.